Why did you decide to do the race?
Obviously, it's great to support this charity, but personally, just to have a challenge. I'm sort of in limbo at the moment. It's quite a strange scenario when an athlete finishes his career. I've been out in New Zealand for a couple of years, living like Peter Pan, skiing and surfing, a bit of coaching, and now I'm sort of umming and ahhing about, you know, full-time work and spinning a few plates there. This is a break that I think I've needed, but also a challenge to train for. I find it quite hard going to the gym and training for, you know, for vanity. So, you know, the last 5 months has been pushing towards this. And it's always good to have a big goal at the end of the targets you set. I sort of thrive on that through life, actually. So this has been the big goal at the end.
So how are you feeling about the race?
A little bit nervous, to be honest. Optimistic. It looks like the weather's potentially on our side, but obviously with rowing and the variables, you never know what might come and go. I think ultimately you know, it's been a few years now, but when I was a professional athlete, yeah, we used to train hard, we used to be able to rest in between. So I think sleep deprivation is probably the biggest one for me, which I'll struggle with. But you know, it's 3 days, a couple of nights. I think it's definitely doable, and it's a challenge, and it's something that I've been looking forward to. So I've just got to relish in the moment. There's going to be some unpretty sights as well as feelings, but yeah, really eager to get going with it, especially with the good conditions tomorrow morning, and see what we can do. So I think the significance of sort of flow state for me, I've got a lot of friends and a lot of people. It's quite a lot of people are talking about it at the moment, and I haven't delved into it really deep, but I've understood it from a sporting background. I found it in cycling, I found it in surfing, because you're focusing on one thing and I'm not very good at it. So surfing on like a 10-foot longboard and just focusing on, you know, that seventh wave, you sort of forget about everything else, like bills and HMRC and all the stuff that doesn't really matter in life. Getting away from social media, clearing the mind. Flow state for me is when you're just in that rhythm and you're in harmony and time seems to go. So I'm hoping I can get into that flow state, because I've never actually found it with rowing before, which is quite a strange one. I'm so competitive that any time I've been training, it's trying to get a win, whereas this is going to be more of a, you know, obviously a fluid environment where you're just continuation. So if I can get into that flow state that I found in cycling, and I found it in surfing, and I found it a little bit in skiing, where you just sort of let go. I found it in open water swimming, actually, weirdly enough, and that's the closest thing, as well as cycling, with endurance. And if I can get into that state, I think we'll be in good spirits. Alex Gregory, who actually introduced me to this, and who's done it, I don't know if he'd talk about it, but the way I see him train and race, he sort of like, he visualizes and will close his eyes and be in the moment. Whereas I was very much sort of fight or flight. You know, the adrenaline's pumping, I'm there to race and I've got to beat the man next to me. And that seemed to get the best performance from me. Everyone's different. I'd have liked to have got to Alex's state, and I think that's why he was such an amazing athlete. I'd admit that I don't think I ever really found it in fine show racing at the Olympics and stuff, and maybe there were days where I did find it training. It's like, you know, that synergy of flowing and being in harmony with someone else. Maybe I found it many years ago when I was younger, but I didn't even think about what flow state was. With a good friend of mine, George Nash, who I competed at London with in the pair. Because in a pair it's two to tango, right? You've got to basically mirror, and then it's probably the only boat you actually do something slightly different, but you're making that one person row his best, and that's timing and, you know, camaraderie, and then what it gives you as well. And this is why I'm speaking to these guys about today. It's the confidence and the discipline that I think we're thriving off here in this hub at the moment, and hopefully that can put us in good stead. when I retired, I completely fell out of love with rowing completely. You know, it went from being a glorified hobby, which is it's awesome, and you know, I'm so lucky to be in the country that, you know, had the dynasty of Redgrave and Pinson that gave us funding and meant that I could do it as a job. It's hard stepping away from sport at top ends when you've sort of been the best in the world at something and going into, you know, society and to work. But then how, you know, you just got to look at things in a different light. How lucky have I been? I can't be the guy whinging when I've been supported for 10 years to do my favourite sport in the world, you know. But when you're in that moment, it's very hard to see that. So I feel extremely lucky that I found the love for the sport again through coaching. And now I just want to be involved with it and give back. I'm a massive advocate of sport. I think sport and exercise is the best thing, and we were talking about it yesterday, but it should be prescribed to patients through doctors, and it's one thing that I'm talking quite heavily with my wife at the moment. She's a doctor, so exercise just, I feel personally, sort of cures everything, even if it's for a short moment. You know, the dopamine and the, like I said, the camaraderie, the discipline, the confidence, everything it can give you is huge, even if it's just trying to find 25 to an hour, you know, a day. I think we should all be doing more of it and putting our phones down.